Again, thanks everyone. My name is Emily Heichel. I am the product manager for racks, mounts, and enclosures at SnapAV. Pretty much all of your bent metal storage solutions, but today specifically I wanted to go through all of our strong rack solution. And just do an overview of all of the different options that we offer, just as like a general category overview. And then of course we can deep dive into anything after that. I think we're waiting until the end for some questions, but of course if there's anything, keep that in mind on any specific series you'd like me to give any additional detail to. So of course, as an overview, our goal in this rack line is to provide every solution that you need for the job. We completely understand the importance and the pride taken in rack installation. So we want to have something that you're able to use on every job, whether it is a pre-assembled, pre-built, something that's customized, floor standing, wall mounted, in cabinet, anything that you will need in order to complete the job. I screenshotted, I pulled in some images below of all of the different categories we have within the Strong Racks line, but of course I'll be going through those in more detail as we work through this PowerPoint. So of course I want to start with the floor standing category. Is by far our largest category and most popular category. We have everything ranging from fully assembled to more customized solutions. So I'll tick through those. I'm going to start with the FS series because this is the most popular series within Snap, but not only within Snap, it's one of the most popular series really across other distributors as well. So this is that, fully assembled, comes with racks or comes with shelves and vents solution, so arrives ready to go, so you don't have to do any additional installation before your jobs or any assembly before the job starts. This is very similar to like the Middle Atlantic RCS, the Santa CFR, the OmniMount RE. It is that same similar style. We have 4 different sizes of this rack specifically. What you'll see, hold on, I just got a note here. Sorry, Rick, I just got your text message under view full screen mode. And I apologize, I just do not see that.
Okay, maybe the button with the 2 arrows, the full expansion button on the far right of your ribbon. That should do the same thing. It's a minor thing. You can keep going like the way you are.
Okay. All right. Apologize, guys.
Okay.
It's small.
All right. Thanks.
No worries. All right. So this rack was launched in 2015. A lot of the design for this rack was built off of feedback from you guys, from our dealer base. A lot of that feedback was we want a really strong, solid mount or solid rack, but it is, slim, narrow, and easy to move around. So that's what this one specifically was designed for. It's a little bit of a narrower design than what you see on the market, a little bit lighter, and then lower profile casters. This is to make it easier to move in and out of closets and into tight spaces. So that was an intentionally designed based off of feedback from our dealer base. The back panel on this one is a little bit different than what you see in the market as well, because it is latches on and off, and it's not a full door swing, because we want to be able to make sure that it fits and is serviceable in really tight spaces. So for the FS series as well, of course, it comes equipped with some fans at the top. They are DC fans, so they're quieter and more controllable. When these were originally launched, they were launched with AC fans. So they were much louder, and we heard loud and clear from our dealer base that we need to have a quieter option, because either they were on or they're off, and when they're on, they sounded like, airplane taking off. So we made that change about 2 years ago at this point, and since then really haven't heard any additional feedback on it. Along with it being quieter, it is then compatible with a lot of the cooling components products that we have in our line, so the temperature sensor and many of the other items we have there. Of course, built into this rack too are knockouts at the top, and then a trunk line out the back of the back panel as well to make sure that all stays neat and tidy as well. All right. So then going into The strong signature series rack. So this is along the same lines as the FS series in terms of it showing up fully assembled. There are 4 different sizes, 3 in the 25-inch, and then we have a 30-inch deep one as well. The big difference between this and the FS series is the total weight capacity. So this is a 2,200 pound weight capacity on that. It's a fully welded frame, so it's really for those bigger, more high-end looks. This one also has adjustable rack rails on the front and back adjustable rack rails, so there's more flexibility that way. And then just more thought into the aesthetic of the product as well. So it is smoked glass doors, and actually that 30-inch deep has a curved door as well for that kind of extra appeal for some of those customers as well. The side panels on the larger sizes are halved, so you can easily get to the top or bottom. All the front door, the back door, and the side panels are all lockable to make this completely secure right off the bat. And then of course it's UL listed, so some of the testing that has to go we have to go through in the UL listing is like dropping a metal ball from 12 feet to make sure the door doesn't shatter, make sure that the grounding works properly, and making sure that it holds the appropriate weight limit and it kind of gets pushed around and tipped to make sure it doesn't fall over. So those are some of the tests that we go through with UL. All right. So this one I'm going to jump over because this one is available directly through SnapAV.com. I don't know, Rick, if you want to add anything extra on this.
Oh, you can review it if you'd like. Just wanted to make a note that some of these products are not in the current assortment at AllNet, and part of that's just due to the limited amount of space of some of the AllNet branches. But you're certainly welcome if this is the product that you like for your projects. You would either place the order with SnapAV or ask your AllNet person on a larger PO with multiple items to break out these items and place these on your behalf through SnapAV. We're all the same company, kind of the rising tide lifts all the ships in the harbor. So we're happy to place the order wherever we can fill it from.
Great. So yeah, I do want to, I'll touch on this one briefly just because it is different from any of the fully assembled racks that we have. So custom series, just as the name suggests, it is fully customizable. So this one is flat packed. You get a top and a base in one pack. You get pillars in a second pack. And so you do have to assemble it. However, because of this Z-Lock rail system that we have built in, it is very simple. You set the base on the floor. You're able to set the pillars in place, and they hold up on their own while you're screwing it in. So it just takes a few minutes to be able to assemble this whole piece. So along with the options, of course, as a skeleton rack, but we do offer several accessories for this. We have side panels, we have solid metal doors, and we have solid glass doors for options as well. So you can really build this out any way you want. This is very similar to the Middle Atlantic Slim 5. And then also similar to the ERK in terms of being able to put the side panels on as well. Along with being able to build out your own, we do have kits set up for this product as well. So on the SnapAV website, you would be able to see full kits built out. So that's a skeleton rack with shelves, with vents, and then there's some power included in those kits as well. So you can place those orders and be ready to go with all those accessories right off the bat as well. You can see there are several different sizes between 21U and 42U in 2 different depths. So this is by far the most options we have in terms of one floor standing series. So there is a lot to choose from as well. And just as I was talking about the signature series and that rigorous UL testing, these are also UL certified. Again, with the Evolve series, Rick, I know you mentioned this isn't available directly through AllNet stores, but again, available on the SnapAV.com website. So this one I want to touch on a little bit because it is more of a unique design. I call this our hybrid rack because the design intent behind this one was to combine an AV rack with the smart AV installation features to it, but also combine something that is, potentially like some, nicer garage storing, or something that's aesthetically pleasing and could sit out in a room if it wasn't going to get hidden, back into a closet or anything like that. So what is unique about it is that you'll see there's 2 sizes, and the rack U sizes range because it is the height is adjustable. So we have a 10 to 15U and a 16 to 24U, and you'll see under easy assembly, it arrives flat packed. When you pull it out of there, you just have to, it pops open, and then you tighten some thumb screws, and then you have the rack ready to go. In addition to that, there are some accessories to this. There are some shelves, and then there's a caster base for this as well. However, you can see the rubber edges or ends on this rack are not only aesthetic, but they're also there to make this easier to move across any carpeting as well. All right, and then moving into the contractor series, this is actually the longest standing rack we have in the Strong Racks line. This is one that we've had from the beginning. This one I just call our, it certainly gets the job done, but this is the no bells and whistles solution. It comes flat packed. It's an install on a budget, and it is, we don't have any additional accessories for it in terms of doors, but like I said, it certainly is in our line to make sure that we're hitting that lower end price point for those smaller installs. All right, so that is everything in the floor standing category. So next, another big category for SnapAV is the wall mount category. So we have 3 main subcategories in there, 3 main series, I would say, in there, and that is a fully assembled complete wall mount system. So this is a wall mount system that shows up with the door and swing kit all attached, ready to go, no assembly required. We have a vertical wall rack, which is almost brand new to our lineup. It's only about 90 days old. So that, of course, is for more smaller installs, space-saving installs. And then we have a flat pack wall mount rack as well. Again, that's kind of the no bells and whistles, similar to the contractor series in the floor standing category. So I will go through those as well. All right, so our wall mount system, we have several sizes. So for the longest time, for many years, we had 3 sizes, the 10U, 12U, and 16U. Just over the last, it was just over a year, we've added new sizes to it. So we've added a 6U for smaller installs, an 18U, 21, and 24U. And like I said, this arrives, everything attached, door, swing kit, ready to go. So when we added the new sizes about a year ago, anytime we do any sort of development on line extensions, we take a look at the current line and determine what is it that we can make changes on, what feedback have our dealers given us that they dislike about the current design that we can build in and make this an even better design for you guys, for our dealers. So one of the things we did was an update to the hinges. So of course it's a universal hinge design on this, so you're able to take the hinges off and switch them to the other side so you can switch the swing kit. Well, in the past, it was a little bit difficult to get to those bolts, so we have added a notch out near those hinges to make it really easy to be able to swap those to the other side. So that's the change that we made, just to make it even easier for any adjustments. Similar to, along those same lines, another change that we made was to the cable management top panels. Instead of a punch out that could create, sharp edges, we changed that to a screw-on panel, so you can see that on the top now. And then you'll see that the sizes 6U through 16U is 150-pound weight capacity, and anything higher is 300 pounds. So, of course, we had to add additional hinge to make sure that there's no sagging on that higher weight limit. And then, of course, built in are these steel conical pins that help guide the rack itself into the swing kit to ensure that there's no sagging, especially when it's completely loaded down. All side panels, the front door, and the swing kit are all lockable to make sure that it is secure, and again, passes all the UL testing as well. All right, so going into the vertical wall mount rack, this is brand new to our line this year, just 3 months old. So this rack specifically was designed, there's a multitude of install scenarios this one falls under. However, this one was guided by the need to be able to just have a couple pieces of gear that need to be installed, especially in a place where space is a premium. So this one can lean a little bit more towards the commercial side, in the sense that for any large scale deployments, if you're thinking about managers' offices and all Chick-fil-A's. Well, they need to have all of this gear back behind a locked door, but there's no space. There's certainly no space on the floor for a floor standing rack. And that wall mount system, although we have a 6U, still sits 22 inches off the wall. So enter the vertical wall mount rack. If you want to put just 3U's of gear in there, this would be the perfect solution for that. So we have a 3U, a 5U, and a 7U in this, all at rated at 150 pounds. A couple of the features built into it are 2 ways to access. So we have a piano hinge along the top, a locking mechanism to make sure that everything stays nice and secure. So if you just want to swing that open and look down into the gear, or else the other option is to completely remove the front panel. So there are PEM studs built into the front panel that slide into a key lock on the actual rack itself, and you're able to pull that on and off if you need full access to the gear inside. So there's 2 ways to get at the gear. Also built into this, so the total height of this, and the height we're calling the top to bottom, is 28 inches. So that means that we can put any of our deep gear installed, top down into the rack. And then there is additional space at the bottom to be able to install any smaller pieces of gear onto that platform. So again, the same idea with the PEM studs. There are PEM studs built into the back of the rack that you just keyhole the platform onto it. Also built into this platform, you'll see that we have our 5-outlet watt box in some of those images. Built into the platform are threaded holes at the top to be able to connect that 5-outlet watt box onto the platform itself, if that's how you want to run any of the power into the rack itself. A couple other things built into this design is some cable management down the side. So the total width of all of these racks are 22 inches. So that allows for all standard gear installation, and then a little additional room on each side to be able to run any cable management down each side. You can see there are little notches down each side to be able to run any hook and loop or zip ties through those for, to keep all cables and wires nice and tidy. So the rack rails are completely adjustable and versatile. So those get attached to the back of the rack. So based on what you plan on installing in the rack, if you need a little bit of extra space at the top, if there's a front port switch at the top and you need a little bit of extra space, you can unscrew those, move those down a few holes, and then you have that additional space. So it's completely adjustable up and down the back of the rack. Along with that, we have compatibility on this rack with 1032 and 1224 cage nuts. All you have to do is unscrew. It comes standard at 1032, but if you unscrew those off the back, turn them, and then swap them to each side, you now have compatibility with cage nuts as well. So you'll see under compatibility, that image there, that is a picture of a VersaBox Pro behind this vertical wall rack. So the opening in the back of the vertical wall rack is large enough to hold, to go around up to a 14-inch by 14-inch VersaBox Pro. Of course, our VersaBox Pro allows for compatibility of a 5-outlet drop-in watt box as well. So if you want to run your power in that way, you can. This just provides some additional space for more gear for the install. So we want to make sure when we're doing our designing, from the ground up, that that we are incorporating kind of the whole Snap ecosystem, make sure that everything works together. And then integrated cooling as well. So there's a vent at the bottom. The fan is not included, but there is a vent at the bottom to assist with any passive cooling. If you want to add a fan for active cooling, we have the Cool Components FK121 added to our line to be able to allow for that as well. And then I've added a couple images you can see of a completed install, so you can see what this looks like all together. All right. So going into the last item in our wall mount rack. So again, like I mentioned, this is very similar to the contractor series and the floor standing in terms of it's in our line because it certainly gets the job done, but it is the lower cost, no bells and whistles options. It comes flat pack with just sides and a top and a bottom. You do have the option to add any doors as accessories as well. But that's pretty much what we offer for that. It's a 10U, a 12U, and a 16U. Again, it's in there for price point that's for something that still gets the job done. All right, so moving into some of our other solutions, we have in-cabinet racks as well. So we have 4 sizes of a static in-cabinet rack, 8, 10, 12, and 14, all at 250-pound weight capacity. How we then offer a rack slide at a 300-pound weight capacity to make that a full dynamic in-cabinet rack and rack slide solution. So we have a couple different features built into the rack slide to make sure you can get the job done. There's a quick push button that allows for that full 60 and 90-degree rotation each way. And then of course, when you pull the in-cabinet rack completely out of the cabinet itself, it does lock so that when you're servicing it, you don't have to worry about it getting pushed back into the cabinet itself. And all you do is hit that lever at the end and it's able to push back in and you are good to go. The rack itself is 18 inches deep to make sure that you do have that full rotation when you pull it out of the cabinet itself. Also, just looking, talking through any future development, we have kicked off design of a new in-cabinet rack solution. It is going to be something similar to, what Middle Atlantic has out there, the SRSR. Of course, not exactly like that, but we understand the need for that in the market. So that is something we're working on as well. If there's any feedback or anything you want to share with me at the end, or we can talk, directly later, that would be great, because of course it's really important when we're designing and developing brand new product that we get feedback from our dealer base on that. All right, and then I'm going to quickly touch on our IT cabinets as well. We have 2 sizes of our large IT cabs. They're 42U, 30 and 40 inch deep for the big installs. 2,200-pound weight capacity, because I understand the need to have a high weight capacity on this type of rack. It's completely secure. All doors and side panels lock. We have venting on the front, of course, because of the gear that goes into the rack needs to vent that direction. And then we have a fully loaded wire management to make sure all rack installs are nice and neat and tidy. And then, of course, 2 post relay racks. We have 3-inch and 6-inch deep 45U racks. Of course, we want to make these gangable to make sure that you always have enough space for every install, a slim profile and easy assembly, and then a full solid construction to make sure that it is not moving once you're done with the install. All right, so talking through all of the different rack accessories. So I don't want to go into too much detail on each of the individual categories. However, I want to touch on how many different accessories we do offer. So of course, we have standard shelves. We have fold flat shelves that really the only difference is that you can see that it folds flat, so there's an extra hinge on there. They also ship in a much smaller package than the standard shelf. We have clamping shelves that are dedicated specifically to some of our media products, drawers, hidden shelves, of course, and then bents and blanks, all in various sizes. Along with that, we have wire management as well, horizontal wire management, offset lacing bars, D-ring wire management, and then several vertical wire management pieces as well. And then also, as I mentioned, cool components a few different times. We partner with them on all of our cooling solutions. So you can see grills and vents, of course. We have many different styles or I guess quantities of the 120 millimeter fan kit. We have 1, 2, and 4 kit, exhaust venting system, many different types of controllers, and then full fan kits. And then full fan kits with power supply and everything as well. Another, just talking about future development, another thing that we're working on is oversee enablement. We understand that we have a very powerful tool at our hands, and that temperature control in a rack is of utmost importance to ensure all gear is running efficiently. So that is something we're looking at, as well as working on a cooling line that is oversee enabled. So again, any feedback on that? I know I've heard from a lot of you guys, a lot of dealers, that is something that would fit in seamlessly with the current business that you run. So that is something we're certainly looking at and understand the importance of.
Hey, Emily.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I just wanted to make a note that the cool components, as of today, July 2019, we do not have cool components at AllNet.
Okay.
So again, these products are very important to your rack builds. These particular products have to be placed through SnapAV, and I am absolutely looking forward to active thermal management that is oversee enabled. That sounds awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Excited about it over here. Okay, so one last thing that I wanted to touch on is something that is going to be happening over the next few weeks. So there's going to be a new branded rack available at the AllNet stores really in the next 2 weeks, I would say. So this is, it's not Strong branded, it is going to be a Legion branded rack. So this is another fully assembled option. It is going to be very similar in fit, form, and function to many of the racks that you've seen on the market or through other distribution as well. It's very similar to OmniMount RE and Rapid Rack body type. So if you're familiar, the OmniMount RE, the Rapid Rack body type, is slightly different from the FS series. So they're very similar in the fully assembled solution. However, they are designed slightly differently with different features. And we do know that some of the dealer base prefers the body of the Rapid Rack or OmniMount versus FS series. So we want to make sure that we're providing a full solution for all dealer needs. It's important to note that these racks are only going to be available at local locations. You will only find this at your AllNet store. You will not find this available on the SnapAV.com website. So just pulling in some pictures, you can see a front door, back door, and side panels all lock. The side panels lock with the latching lock on the side, and the back doors are split open, that French door look. So there's not as much space needed in order to open it. So it's not a full swing back door. They are going to come with AC fans and the screw-on panel wire management, and then they will have the adjustable rack rails as well. So like I said, they are going to be very similar to the OmniMount RE and Rapid Rack. So we want to make sure that we're providing that solution to you, and that's going to be Legion branded. Okay, so that is everything on the PowerPoint. So I want to go into the Rack Builder demo. However, can you, Rick, can you guys see, how big is this on your screen right now?
Sorry, I'm muted. That's perfect. Yeah.
Can you see that? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead with that.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so I just want to do a quick demo of all the features and everything built into the Rack Builder tool. So this was revamped, I would say, about 2 years ago. I know we have beta still listed on there because it is, we're constantly making changes and upgrades to it, and I'll talk through some of that. So where the Rack Builder can be found is on the SnapAV.com website. It can be found here under Tools in Rack Builder. And of course, that is behind a login, so you have to be logged into the SnapAV.com website in order to use the tool. But I have it up here. So once you get into the Rack Builder, the first thing you're gonna see is this screen of all projects. So I'm gonna jump into one that I pulled together yesterday for the demo, and then I'll kind of show how one looks starting from scratch as well. So I'll open this Heikel house and kind of tick through some of the different features. All right, so some of these toggle on and off here at the top is labels. So labels toggling on and off, simply what that means is, of course, everything in our Rack Builder has some sort of part number or description listed with it. So all the label does is turn on or off that part number. It's really just a good reference because you can see it kind of covers up the center of the rack. So it's really just a reference for you to see what part numbers and what products are in your rack. So I usually just toggle that one off as necessary to remember what products I put in there and what I didn't. All right, another one I have here is comments. So comments is a really cool tool because that gives you the ability to add any notes in there that you want. So maybe you're building out the rack and someone else is doing the installation, or maybe you want to make a note of where the Apple box or where any sort of streaming device goes. You can add a comment there. So you just toggle the comments on and you can see they pop up here. We have 1, 2, and 3, some notes I made. You click on it and that's where you can see what the specific note says. If you want to add another comment, all you simply do is click and drag the comment to the area you want it to be and make your note. That way, confirm, and then you have the note on there. See here, but you do have to make sure that those are toggled on in order to add the comment to it. All right, so a lot of what you see here, you pull a product on here and you can physically see it on the rack, but there are several products that you want to pull into your rack build that maybe aren't going to be physically visible on the rack. So for example, let me go into rack accessories and show you how this works. All All right. So let's say I want to order some rack screws. I don't want to forget to order some, so I want to add them now. Of course, you can't see rack screws specifically, you know, on the individual rack, but you want to make sure to order it. If you just click and drag it over onto the rack, it's going to show adding component, and then at the top, it'll show you that the jar rack screws was added to your job belt. It's just not visible in there. So then you can click over here to the added to rack, and you will see it listed in here once it populates. Yep, so now you can see it was added to there. I have a quantity of 4 because I've added this 4 times. So then you can see if I scroll down here, all of the items under items displayed are items that you can physically see on the rack itself. And then any of the items not displayed are listed up at the top. So you're always fully aware of what products are in your rack, and it keeps a running total for you. All right, so that's kind of some of the general functionality. Let me show you what it looks like when you're creating a rack from scratch. So you go to File, New. Let me do Heikel basement. All right, so here's the option what you're given for a private project or a shared project. Private project is yours only. You're the only one that has access to it. You're the only one that can see, visibly see it. Shared project is you're saying, okay, someone else in my organization can see this. However, we don't give them access to make any changes. This is simply just your protection to make sure that no changes are being made on your rack, especially since the rack is directly linked to your cart. So we want to make sure nothing is accidentally put in your cart twice and there's no confusion there. So we give the opportunity for other people to be able to see the rack, but not necessarily make any changes. So I'll create this project. All right. So then you start with a blank screen here. And what Rack Builder is going to force you to do, the first thing is to pull a rack in. You won't even be able to toggle into any of these other tabs until you bring a rack in. So you can scroll down. There's a few different ways that you can search for a rack. We give a few different options. So you can either just scroll down the way that I was and see that all of these racks are all listed in here. You have that option. The second option is to just search. So if I know that I want a custom series, I can click custom and it will sort all of the custom series racks for you. And then the third option is to toggle down this way. If I know I want a contractor series, you can scroll that way. So we give several different options to be able to search for the rack that you need for the install. So I will pull in a custom series rack, and you can see it populates on the screen here. Then, of course, once you have that pulled in, the next thing you want to do is rack accessories. So tab over. I will take this opportunity to say that you can see that takes a little bit of time between the tabs. That is something that our software, our e-com team is actively working on right now, is to make that a quicker experience for you so that you can work through this as quickly as possible. All right, so another thing built in, you can see right here is favorites. So if you toggle your favorites on, and again, this is something you're gonna build as you use the Rack Builder more. Right now they're off, but if I toggle on, everything that I have marked as one of my favorites that I used for the majority of jobs, I've marked the heart on it, will show up. So that instead of scrolling through 15 accessories, you're scrolling through or 50 accessories, you're scrolling through, the 15 that you use. So I find that very convenient, so it's not kind of an overwhelming scrolling experience. All right, so then you start pulling in some shelves, and you can see the green shows, yes, you can put this product right there. If I were to try to put this over that, it's not gonna let me, it's gonna say red, and it's just gonna push it off. So I'm just gonna pull some on here. Let's see here. All right, so once you have a few those in place, I'm gonna go over to products, because we have several different options for products. So of course we have all of the SnapAV branded product in here, rack mountable items that sit on shelves. All of them are going to be listed in here, and you're gonna see that there's gonna be really nice, aesthetically pleasing drawings for them. So we do understand that there is more than just SnapAV product that you're going to build out in your rack. So we also offer what is called user-defined products, so that you're able to save that space even if it isn't a SnapAV branded product. Also, what's cool is you can pull things onto the front and the back of the rack. So if I want to pull this in and put it on the front, great. If I also want to pull this in and put one on the back, great. And you can see it's visually representative of what that product looks like on that rack. Again, so I'm going to toggle these on because I have a few items saved in here. So what I was talking about with user defined are these gray blocks. So these are, again, just blank spaces that we want you to make sure that you are saving those spaces for other non-Snap gear. You'll see a little bit of a difference is here. There is a shelf underneath this one. This means this product has to sit on a shelf. It is not rack mountable. So for me to pull it in, you can see I can set it on this shelf here. Or this one that is rack mountable, I can pull this in and set it up there. So what you can do is either, if you want to make a note about that, you can either edit the actual label itself and say, you know, this is an audio streamer and confirm this, or depending on how, and this is completely up to you, whatever works best for your team, you can toggle on the comments, drag that over and make the comment that way. So you are able to keep track of how, what these user-defined products look like. So recently in the last few months, we took it a step further and decided to say, you know, those gray blocks don't look the greatest. You spend all this time putting together a nice rack to be able to show a customer, and then you have these gray blocks that are covering some of the spaces. So let's take some of the most popular items and make kind of a generic drawing so they're more aesthetically pleasing on the rack. And that's where you'll see some of these other items. So if I want to pull in this Blu-ray player and set it here, you can see it pulls on and actually looks really nice on there instead of just a gray block, and it just says Blu-ray player. You know, very along those same lines are items like a media streamer right here, media streamer, or same with, you know, an audio streamer of some sort. We all know what that looks like. So we did add those items into it as well so that you have a more aesthetically pleasing built out rack instead of just having gray blocks everywhere. Let's see here. Some of the other things that we have built into this is how to duplicate a rack. So we only allow one rack build on the page at one time. However, if you want to build a rack that's very similar to this, or if it's a second rack for the same job, you can go up to File, and you can hit Duplicate Project, and then I can do Heikel Basement 2, save, and you are now technically in Heikel Basement 2, and you can start making changes to it. So you can easily duplicate that. So we're not asking you to rebuild out the same rack if you want to build out a new project. Another cool thing that we have here is some of the downloadable options. So I'm going to add a few more comments just because I want to show you. I want to show you some of the functionality. So if I go to File, I can download this as a PDF. And the first thing it asks you is, what do you want to show on this PDF? Is this internal? Is this for your team only, or is this external as well? Is this something that's going to go to a customer? And that will help you decide on what to include on the PDF. So if I say, you know, this is just internal only out the side view, the labels, and all of the comments, and hit Create PDF. It should be creating. There we go. All right, and it'll show up here, and when I open it up, what it's going to show you is so a really cool printout of what you just built out of the actual images of everything. Is going to show labels. Of course, you can choose not to show labels if you don't want to do that. It's going to show the side view of the rack as well. And then what I think is great is rack comments. So any comment that you added on the rack is now going to show up as its own line item on the PDF. So this is really helpful for any install tips or tricks as well. So we offer this option for printout. Then of course, all the items in the rack themselves and the quantity of the items in the rack. And it shows you the SnapAV products at the top and any additional items at the bottom. So of course, these are the items that aren't going to have any dollar value attached to them. The other option that we have is export to CSV. So along the same lines, if this is something that you want to have all of the information, but maybe in an editable format. You can download that, open it up, and it is going to show you, wait for it. All right, so it's going to show you everything that you had in the rack, a description of it, the dealer cost, and a sell price on it, and then a link to where you can find it on the website. So that's simply if you want to put it in an edited version. All right, let's see here. And then last but certainly not least, we have the option to add all the items to your SnapAV shopping cart from the rack builder. So there's two different ways to do that. You can go to this blue added cart, toggle down to everything, take a look and see what you have in there. And then you can simply add to cart from here. It will give you a notification that all items have been added to your shopping cart. Or you can do that from here. You can hit file, go down to add cart, add to cart, and you can add from there. So there are two different ways to make sure that all of the gear that you have built out into your rack builder gets into your SnapAV shopping cart. I think that covers, an overview of everything. Do you want to go into questions?
So Emily, I've got a couple questions here that have popped up.
Sure.
So you can export to, I saw you export to CSV. What is the export that's the best way to export to a design software or a proposal software? So if somebody's using, well, I guess D-Tools has their own drawing platform, but if somebody's using QuickBooks, or if they're using one of the other proposal softwares, how can they populate? Would that just be the CSV option and then just take that into the software?
Yeah, absolutely. So in that case specifically, if you want to use it with a different software, it would be the CSV file, because what the PDF is providing for you is kind of that visual with the commentary. It's more of the proposal side of it if you wanted to use only the rack builder for the proposal. If you want to incorporate it into a different software, the CSV would be the best option to use.
Okay. And then, yeah, I see the PDFs being valuable for handoff to your build teams. So if for a larger organization that's got a separate design team and a separate build team, or even remote projects where you may be subcontracted to another contractor to start the build before your team arrives on site, you can share with them what you'd like, how you'd like the layout to be to your standards for power management, thermal management, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Making comments on, what outlet each item is plugged into. If you really want to get into the detail, that's what's great for those comments, is because you can add as much information as you want to make sure that the build out is exactly as the designer had anticipated.
Oh, that's perfect. Then you can start pre-programming if you know which outlet on which watt box each component's plugged into and which port on which switch each component's plugged into. You can start doing your build configs on your Arachnus components and all that stuff.
That's right.
Definitely, there's a lot of value in having this engineered down to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a lot of the dealers are starting to become more sophisticated and kind of go toward that. That's really the way everything is in commercial. Like high level commercial. Somebody's building out a hotel with 200 rooms. There's not a lot of on-the-fly decisions being made.
That's right. That's right.
I think some of our more sophisticated resi dealers are starting to adopt that model.
Yep.
All right. Well, I got a quick question here on the audio streamers.
Yep.
So, I mean, obviously that's supposed to look like a Sonos Connect, which by the way
Yep.
is available at AllNet in almost all of our region.
Yep.
But
Yep.
and now we've got the Yamaha Avantage and the Yamaha MusicCast product across all of our region and across Snap globally. So that's nice.
Yep.
So if you were to drop one of those in there, and let's say that you already had in that space 2 space blank, and the component that you're dropping in there is taller than the 2 spaces, and you want to use a clamping rack shelf because maybe that's a rack that moves.
Mm-hmm.
Would it notify you with that red bar just like it did when you tried to put like a blank over a component?
Yeah, it would. So how this, so that is kind of the next step that we want to take. We want to make the rack builder even, even smarter, even more intuitive in terms of the very specific products that get dropped into it. However, what the rack builder right now is counting is spaces. So if a product is filled into a space, it's not going to let something else sit on top of it, if that makes sense. So
Sure.
so this item right here has to sit on a shelf. Um, so if we try to put a one-use shelf and this product on it, it wouldn't allow it to.
Okay. So even though if it was not a clamping shelf, it would physically work, but it's going to say, hey, it's going to encroach on the next shelf that you still show as open, or the next RU that you still show as open.
Exactly. Yep. So again, those
Okay,
are some of the
perfect.
details down to the very specific products that we want to be able to get to. Just because we know that that's intuitive, that should be allowed, but at this point, it's just counting, the physical spaces.
Okay, and then I'm sorry I had to mute for a minute. We had a guest pop into
Hmm.
the office where I'm sitting. So if you have a component, like I see the watt box, the 12 outlet watt box there,
Yep.
and let's say you're using it as the kit with the 600 FP faceplate,
Yep.
I can put that on there so that the faceplate is on the front rails and the watt box is on the rear rails. Am I allowed to do that today?
Yeah, exactly. So in that case, you would just put this on, you would have to put the watt box on the front or faceplate on the front and the watt box on the back. So you can drop items onto the front and the back as long as space allows. So you wouldn't be able to drop this watt box on the back of where like a UPS is because there wouldn't be any space allowed. So as long as there's
Sure.
physically spacing, then you'd be able to allowed to drop it in.
Okay. And you can put if you wanted to populate the rear elevation with all of your, lacing bars and things like that, you could do that as well for the sake of uh, estimating.
So the lacing bars are going to show up kind of like those rack screws. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to physically show them on this rack yet. You can drag them onto the rack and it's going to show up in your cart, but you won't physically see it on the rack on the screen.
Okay, and same with horizontal. Is there
Yep.
a mechanism to see the horizontal components or no?
The horizontal lace bars or
Yeah, say we're going to use the horizontal lace bar. Let's say we're using a
Mhm.
signature 30-inch deep. So I
Yep.
want to have the two sets of horizontal lace bars, forward set and a rear set, both side by side because we've got the extra depth on that cabinet.
Yep.
Is there a way to show that and then to specify, like, hey, I want the trunk line for video signal to be on the rear of the left and the trunk line for the power signal to be on the forward of the left, and then the same thing on the other side, like, audio signal on this and network
Yep.
signal on that.
Yep. So that's a great question. And that's, again, functionality we're working towards, but how you would be able to solve that right now is not through the physical picture on there, but that's where you could add comments that say horizontal lace bar installed here. And, this is what's going to run across horizontal and this is what's going to run across vertical. So you'd be able to do that through comments, but it won't physically show up on the picture itself.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
All right, let's get into some more questions here.
Okay.
So we've got one of our questions that popped up is about sizes. So on some of the pre-built racks, like the FS and
Yep.
um, the the signature cabinets, will there? And I see that you put the Legion up there. So going back to the other ones, though, the
Yep.
FS and the is there any plan to have a size between 27 and 42, like we have the 35 RU in the Legion series? So sometimes in the Midwest here where we've got basements, the
Yep.
42 has so much room, but it's just a little bit tall to get some of these closet doors in basements.
Hmm. You guys are reading my mind because, as I forgot to mention, so thank you for catching me on this. We are actually launching a 35U FS series by the end of this year.
Nice. Okay.
Yep. Hmm.
And then in the sig, we've got in the signature we've got another series or another size, right?
Yeah, that one's
30,
sized a
yeah,
little bit
32.
different. Yeah, 22, 32, 42, and then 42, 30-inch deep as well.
Yeah. Any plan to make deeper cabinets in any of the shorter sizes, or is the 4230 the only 30 depth we're going to have?
No, there is. So that is some feedback I get on the racks as well as just a deeper cabinet, especially for deeper gear for more power management and wire management. So we are looking into it. I can't promise you that something's on the roadmap right now, but it is something that we're looking at because it is some feedback I get from you guys, from dealers.
Okay, nice. All right. Yeah, that Signature Series, that's the best cabinet we sell by far. We
Okay.
love those. We love
Yeah,
those. So
absolutely.
a lot of our highest end dealers have standardized on those, particularly on the 30-inch depth. And I think
Yes.
that even if we only have one more size, even if we had like a 32 and a 30-inch depth, that would be something
Okay.
that would help us cement that product for more of
Okay.
these high-end people.
All right. So 30-inch. So another taller size, another like a 32U, but at 30 inches would be helpful for the mix.
That exact scenario that we just mentioned, where it's the
Yep.
42 is just a little bit too tall to move around, but they still want the 30-inch depth particularly for horizontal cable management on the sides.
Yeah,
So that way
absolutely.
they've got full access to the full width when they're going in through the rear. So
Hmm.
yeah, everyone horizontal lacing is that's in the last probably 7 or 8 years, it's probably the biggest thing
Okay.
that has taken off, and people
All
are
right.
kind of adopting that on the high end.
Okay. Absolutely. I'm making that note.
And also our power strips, we've got vertical power strips that we like to tuck away on the side. So it's one of the only downsides to the FS is there's no real place to put that power
Yeah.
strip. That's
I've
why
heard that
people
feedback loud
migrate.
and clear. Yeah.
So that's why people are migrating to the Signature. And then also when we have the Legion, there's just enough room in the Legion to tuck one away.
And we did some compatibility testing on that Legion too when we brought it in to make sure it would fit in there. So yeah, we're looking for a solution because we get that feedback on the FS series that it just doesn't quite fit right, of course, unless you don't want to put the back door on it. But so we're looking at solutions for that. We've definitely heard that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and like from another one of our product lines that we sell, the Wattbox, we just got um, a new horizontal uh, watt box that goes across the rear rails. I want to say it's an 8 outlet that's IP
Okay.
controlled, ORC enabled. So that's a really cool addition to help us with our power management.
Oh yeah, the eight outlet vertical power strip, correct?
Yeah, and it can go
Yep.
either way. We
Yep.
can either use
Exactly.
vertically, or it's perfect rack mount for
Yeah.
using horizontally. That's a neat piece. All right. So the next question. Oh, can you go back to the new wall rack and talk about the VersaBox? So in that one, you said power management. We can not only use traditional power strip power management, but since it has a VersaBox, we can put the 5 outlet IP controlled watt box in the bottom of the VersaBox, and then pipe that into the electrical and have that. Or no, actually, it has a power pigtail, an IEC pigtail that comes out of the front faceplate. So that would plug into. We would still use a junction box, but the junction box would be, in this case, it would be in the VersaBox, not in the wall cabinet.
I guess you could do either because the VersaBox you can do a drop-in watt box and a J box outlet in it, or you could do that all into the vertical wall rack. So the VersaBox is built in with that functionality as well.
Okay, so it just adds that extra flexibility.
Yep.
Okay, neat. Yeah, I think that's the coolest product that we've introduced in a long time. So it's the
Yeah,
coolest
this
product that's been introduced in the entire rack category from any vendor in a long time.
I mean, this is, we took a lot of time and a lot of feedback, a lot of design iterations to make sure that we were designing in what you guys want, what makes sense for the install, what's the most versatile for the installation. So yeah, this one's we're really excited about. Launched for 90 days, selling quite well and at a pretty good price point as well. So yeah, we're really excited about this one.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions here. I'm just trying to figure out how to get to them. Will Legion racks be on the Rack Builder software just like the Strong product?
Unfortunately, not right away, no. So we're making those, we're separating those from any of the Strong branded at this point, so they will not be on the Rack Builder to start.
Okay, but from a design standpoint, you could use a like size for layout only, but it won't populate your parts list correctly.
100%, yes, absolutely. You can go in there and pull in any sort of like size across any of the racks, and use that to, yes, to be a space saver, and then purchase those products separately. I mean, you could even do a full add to cart and then go into your snapav.com cart and remove the rack itself if you wanted to work around that way.
Okay, we have another question popping up around the user added devices. So using the audio streamer example, if we use another brand that's not, obviously that one's modeled after the Sonos. If we use another brand and it's a different size, can we double click, right click, or in some way modify the size of that little ghost icon that shows up on the shelf so that it better represents the size of the item that's going to be in the rack, so we can plan around it space-wise?
Yeah, so because I know that the Middle Atlantic Rack Builder allows you to, I think, build very specific sizes. We unfortunately don't have that built into this yet. However, we do. I'm scrolling to the left here. I don't know if you can see this. We do try to offer as many user-defined spaces as possible. So let me just. I'm going to toggle off the favorites, and then I'm going to click down to all of the user-defined. So you can see there are several options for everything user defined. So if it's not the size of that Sonos and it is a rack you hire and maybe only half the rack or it's 3/4 of the rack, we do try to provide you that solution. So you can see it's a 2U full, we have a 2U half width, a 2U quarter width. So we have that for 1U, 2U, 3, and 4U in both products that sit on the shelf and products that are rack mountable. So we do try to provide in that user defined as many options in terms of total U heights and rack widths to be able to cover that need.
Okay, so got another question that popped up for somebody who's not really interested in using the Rack Builder. They want to know if the CAD blocks are available for dealers who use CAD or Revit or Visio or one of the other engineering-based drawing platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that we have proprietary design to us, we can share that information, whether it's a rack accessory or a rack itself. We do try to send those out. We send them out in the DWG or a drawing version. So yeah, those are available for us to send out.
Okay, perfect. And then is SnapAV and specifically Strong D-Tools partner for people who use the D-Tools platform?
Yes, I believe so. I was going to check in with the e-com team because we had the big, there was 2 years ago at CDO where we announced the partnership, and I have not heard recently where the partnership has gone since, but I do believe the answer is yes.
Yeah, I see that here. I just Googled it. It says 2018. There's a partnership that was created between SnapAV and D-Tools.
Yep.
So, okay, we can follow up on that one as well. Let me see. In with the custom series, or I'm sorry, contractor series racks,
Yep.
it allows you to add side, rear, and door panels. In some cases, they're products that don't fit the rack that was chosen. Are there any hiccups like that where there are accessories that are allowed to be added?
Oh, I see. Okay, that's a great question. That's actually something that that just recently happened with an AllNet dealer. So if you're on the line, I apologize for that. We are fixing it right now. So yes, that is true. So what's happening right now is, so the contractor series is not built. It's not a product that has any door accessories at all. Like I said, it's the flat pack, no bells and whistles. However, because we have a 21U custom series or contractor series, And then we have 21U doors that fit on the custom series only. In Rack Builder right now, you are able to put a custom series door on a contractor series, which is not compatible, and that is very confusing to our dealer base, and I apologize. However, we are making a change on that. So as of, I was just working with the team this morning, there is going to be a warning that states, door is not compatible, and it will not let you drop that door onto a contractor series. So that change is officially being made internally, and we'll get that kicked out to the Rack Builder in the next few weeks.
Nice, perfect. Okay. I think that's it. So if there are
Okay.
any other questions, please type them in pretty quickly. We've got, did we show the vertical power strips on any of these designs?
So I just had a meeting with the Rack Builder software team last week on the vertical power strips, and they are, good question. I have to check to see if they are in here. Let me see. So it does not look like the IP enabled ones are in here yet. Let me double check. However, this right off the bat is going to be a product that is similar to the lacing bars, where it can be dragged onto the rack to show that it goes into the cart, but it won't necessarily have visibility on the rack itself just yet. And again, the reasoning for that is, so some of the larger ones that have to go vertical instead of being installed horizontally across the rack, is that the Rack Builder right out of the functionality is simply counting U spaces. So if we have a vertical power strip that is covering, 6 U spaces, it is going to essentially cover that many use spaces on the rack itself and not allow you to put anything else in that space. So again, I had a meeting with that team last week to put together some sort of functionality that would allow for this, but right off the bat, you won't actually physically be able to see the IP-enabled vertical power strips on the rack.
Okay, and also currently the way the drawing works is it only shows the space within the rack rails and not necessarily like on the wider racks like the Signature, the space on the outside of the rack rails where you would want to use your horizontal wire cabling management and your vertical power strips.
That's
So that
correct.
space isn't even part of the design environment.
It is not. No, it just counts
Okay,
that 19-inch standard. Yep.
cool. Okay. All right. I think we've covered everything on Rack Builder, and we've had a pretty thorough review of the line. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them into the questions tab on the right side of your, there's a little dashboard on the right side of your display. So otherwise, I
Um,
think we
and then
have
also,
covered everything.
yeah, I mean, this has been great. If anyone has any questions directly for me, I know, Rick, you have my information. I'm happy to talk to any dealers directly, anything that you want to go more in depth on. We're really big on direct communication with all of our dealers. So any feedback, any discussions you want to have on anything you heard today or any of the other categories I manage, I'm happy to discuss further.
Okay, and something that I wanted to, since we're at the end, we're going to go ahead and stop the recording, but because this part's not going to be on the archive. Bill Zidek said that we're going to do a special promo for anyone who's on the call. So we're going to do 10% off Strong Racks and 10% off pre-orders of Legion Racks.
Oh, great.
So if anyone has some projects coming up and you'd like to get some rack product lined up for those projects, feel free to give us a call, and we're going to extend that, and we'll do it from today through next Wednesday. So basically, we're going to give you a week to get those orders in, and that'll follow up. I see that a handful of people have already dropped off the call. They had to leave right on the hour mark. So I'll follow up via email with that. So everyone who's on the call, you don't have to memorize a code or anything like that. I'm just going to send you an email to follow up. So everyone who registered and logged in today for at least, we'll just call it 5 minutes. So everyone who's on the call for 5 minutes or more is going to get this email offer. So for those who were only on for 4 minutes and 30 seconds, they're just out of luck, Emily. So, that's how it works. All right. So
Well, great. Thanks,
everyone, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. We ran a little bit long, but we had really good content today, and we had some good questions pop up. So thank you, everyone, for asking questions, and thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us today.
Hey, really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, we're going to end the call now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.